You see, they wanted Jesus as their king as long as it was on their terms. They wanted a deliverer and a Messiah that would conform to their plans instead of they to his. They wanted Jesus to destroy Rome, not their cherished sins or their hypocritical, superficial religion. There's a lot of people like this today. Oh, yeah, they'll sing the praises of a Jesus that will give them wealth and success and personal happiness, but they recoil from the idea of a God that would ask for obedience, commitment, and sacrifice. Like the multitude at the triumphal entry, they'll loudly acclaim Jesus as long as they believe he will satisfy their selfish desires. But yet this same multitude turned on him only days later. The same people crying, Hosanna on Sunday, were saying, crucify him on Friday. What happened? What happened was they didn't understand who God was. They just understood what they wanted him to be. You know, we like God as long as God fits into our plans. But the moment he does something we don't like, we'll say, well, I don't like this at all. In fact, I'm mad at God. I've heard people say that. I'm mad at God. Really? You're mad at God? Yes, I am. And I think I probably should forgive him, but I'm mad. You have no right to be mad at God. Who do you think you are? Here's what God says in Romans 9:33. Who in the world do you think you are to second guess God? Do you for one moment suppose that any of us knows enough to call God into question? Clay doesn't talk back to the fingers that molded, saying, why did you shape me like this? Listen, he is the potter, you are the clay. He is the shepherd, you are the sheep. He is the vine, you are the branches. He is the giver, you are the recipient. He is God, and you are a punk. You are, and I am too. It's ridiculous for us to say, I'm mad at God. Now, if you were to say to me, well, I'm hurt, and I don't understand why something happened, I can understand that. If you say to me, I don't understand God, I can see that. If you would even say to me, I've asked God why, I understand that. I just talked to a lady in our bookstore last service, and her young boy was killed in an accident. And she said, I've said why many times. I said, I understand. After our son went to be with the Lord in 2008, in a message I gave that was later aired on radio, I said, there's nothing wrong with asking God why. A man wrote me and said, you don't know how much those words helped me, because you see, my son was murdered. And he says, and I could not understand it. And you know, Christians come with trite little sayings when something like this happens. And a lot of times they don't help at all. They actually kind of hurt. They'll say, well, you know, God had a purpose in it, and all things work together for good to those that love God. Well, Greg, what are you saying? It's wrong to quote the scripture? No, it's right to quote it, but there's a time and place for everything. And sometimes people will come with a little smile on their face and a quick verse to quote, and you know what? It's just not the time. When someone's son is murdered, and this man said to me, when you said it's okay to ask God why, it was so helpful to me, and since then he's forgiven the person who murdered his son, who came to faith, by the way, shortly before he died. And this man now is trusting the Lord, knowing he'll see his son again. But here's my point. Even Jesus said, my God, why have you forsaken me? It's okay to not understand. It's okay to question. But don't tell me you're mad at God. Or others will say, well, I've lost my faith. You know, this bad thing happened. I've just lost my faith. Can I respectfully say, then you never had real faith to begin with. A faith that can be lost is no faith at all. As Randy Alcorn has said, and I quote, a faith that can't be shaken is the faith that has been shaken. Again, a faith that can't be shaken is the faith that has been shaken. You see, you're going to be tested in your faith as life passes by. And if your faith is genuine, it will not go away or dissipate, and you will not lose it. It will actually grow stronger through times of difficulty. Yeah, but we get upset with God because we don't like what he does. But here's something that we may not like. A quote from Chuck Swindoll. I guess I'll blame it on him. But it's a good quote. He says God is able to do what he pleases with whomever he chooses whenever he wishes. God is able to do what he pleases with whomever he pleases whenever he wishes. This is called the sovereignty of God. We don't always like it because it's not what we want, but God can do what he wants when he wants to do it.